Welcome to Star Citizen and the XXL Beginner's Guide 2021. In this modular guide, which is primarily aimed at beginners and those interested in starting their own journey in Star Citizen, you will learn everything you need for an optimal start. Whether it's one of the regular free-fly events or a regular one-off game package for which a fee is charged. Using the timestamps, you can jump to the areas that are of interest to you or even conventionally repeat entire sections. In the guide, all standard keys and options are shown directly in the video to make your entry into one of the most complex, largest and, in my opinion, most beautiful games as pleasant as possible. In addition to the absolute basics, this guide also offers you several different ways of playing and entry options, which give you the freedom to choose whether you want to prove yourself in battle, on the ground or in space, or whether you prefer a peaceful career. Because there's something for everyone here, and we start with the account creation, the choice of a suitable game package, the installation and the most important settings, the controls on the ground and with the spaceship, right through to our first missions, and of course some tips and useful hints along the way. And for questions or help, fellow players and the possibilities the verse offers, you will find some contact information at the end of the video. I wish you much joy on your journey into the verse, and for that we start with the first step. As a prerequisite, you need a free Star Citizen account, which you can create on robotSpaceIndustries.com or by using the direct link in the video description, which also gives you the only available bonus when creating an account. When creating a new account, you have the opportunity to start the game with a bonus by using a referral code, which is only possible when creating an account for the first time. So my first tip to you, if you have a friend who plays Star Citizen, ask them for their code and use it, because the person whose code you use will also receive a small bonus, so it's an advantage for all sides and therefore highly recommended. And if you don't have a Star Citizen player at hand, you're all welcome to use my code, which is displayed in the upper left corner or is already included in the direct link in the video description. And don't worry, you won't be entering into any obligations or giving away any data. With your newly created account, you will receive your own code, which you can pass to your friends. If you do not log in with your account during a free-fly event, you will need a game package to begin your journey in the verse. During a free-fly event, however, you can take part in the game for a few days without a game package. And here's another recommendation. It's absolutely enough to buy one of the cheapest game packages, for about $45, plus taxes depending on your country, to experience the game just as much as with a package costing several $100s. This is because, especially at the beginning, you cannot yet gain any added value or benefit from larger ships or use the advantages of powerful ships. In addition, it is always possible to simply upgrade the cheapest ship without paying a separate surcharge. You will then pay the difference that you would have paid for an expensive starter package. Therefore, our tip is to start with an Aurora starter package, optionally directly with the single-player expansion Squadron 42, and upgrade this starter ship to something larger at a later point in time, when you have gotten to know the game a bit and can assess where your personal journey should go. And for terms like insurance, different hangars and upgrades, check out our dedicated pledge store guide in the channel, where you can learn all the terms and tricks in detail and easily. Because upgrades and purchases in the pledge store are a world of their own. So in conclusion, our recommendations basically the Aurora, followed in ascending order of price by the Titan Avenger, the Nomad or the Cutlass Black. With your account created and your game package purchased, you are now only one installation away from your first foray into the verse. However, your next important tip at this point is to always use the two-factor authentication to protect your account. Here you can choose the intervals at which you have to confirm your account when logging into your account or into the launcher. This gives you much greater protection against unauthorized use or account theft. The installation of Star Citizen starts via its own launcher. into which you also have to log in and which downloads the current game files. And here's the next important tip. Always install the game on an SSD drive or get a smaller SSD for this purpose. Details on performance and optimization can also be found in a dedicated performance guide, which can be very helpful, especially for Star Citizen. After the download is complete, we can finally start the game and get to the main menu of Star Citizen via Launch Game. Here we have three options on the left, with the Persistent Universe representing the actual game and Arena Commander a test environment, as well as an arcade action mode as Space Combat and Star Marine as FPS shooter mode. However, we first make a few settings that may initially disturb or confuse beginners in particular. Under the game settings, we increase the zoom speed of the star map, our map, and then deactivate some auto zoom and look ahead functions. This has no disadvantages, but it does prevent our character from automatically looking behind captured opponents in flight or combat, or even zooming in on the image and losing a lot of visibility. Under the graphics settings, we recommend using the windowless mode and deactivating motion blur, VSync, chromatic aberration and film grain. You can find details on this in the performance guide mentioned above. And with a click on the Persistent Universe, we get directly to the character creation when we start for the first time, where you will find countless possibilities and options and can create your desired character. My tip at this point is not to spend too much energy on character creation, as we often have to reset it visually. With the selection of the system, we can choose whether we want to enter a hangar, a closed area in which we can view vehicles and ships that we have bought, or the multiplayer area, the Persistent Universe. At the first start, we have the choice between 3 starting planets, whereby we recommend Lorville on Hurston, as we are very centrally located here and this guide is tailored to this area. As a server location, the best option is generally recommended. It should be mentioned here that we can also switch to other server clusters at a later date without any losses. Welcome to the verse, citizen! We start with the basic control of your character on foot. This means after the spawning you lie in a bed and can look around directly with the mouse. To leave our spawn location, we confirm the Z key on the keyboard. With its default assignment, we can then simply get out of bed. With the combination of the mouse to look around and the movement keys, as in any other conventional shooter, we can move around the room like this. For general interaction, we hold down the F key and can continue to look around with the mouse or zoom in or out with the mouse wheel. And this interaction mode works not only on foot, but also later when we are sitting in a spaceship or vehicle. Another possibility is to left-click on interactable objects in interaction mode while holding down the F key in order to trigger them. After each new spawn, we awaken in a room of the habitation area, which we can leave by opening the door switch, also in interaction mode with the F key and the mouse click. To leave a building, we look for the exit, which is signposted in each area, so we use the zoom function in interaction mode and scroll with the mouse wheel. To move from the first-person view to the third-person view, we can exit 3 different views by pressing the F4 key, the Ego view, a close follow camera and an extended follow camera. With the movement keys, we can move around, and with the mouse wheel up or down, we can vary our speed. So everything is possible, from a leisure walk to a sprint, and if we press the shift key, we sprint at maximum speed. As long as your character is wearing a helmet, we can switch the light on and off with the T key. However, there are helmets that do not have any integrated lights. To turn the chat and the associated display on or off, we can press the F12 key, which hides the chat and increases immersion. But we want to leave the building, so we take the lift, which is directly under the exit sign. In interaction mode and a click on elevator, we call the lift, although it has to be said right away that this can sometimes take a while, as the lift really do move, and depending on where the lift is, it takes longer or shorter. Having reached the ground floor, we have almost left the building. We follow the only possible path to the left and thus reach the outside area, where we get our first glimpse of the TESA spaceport. And this spaceport, which exists on every larger planet, is our next destination. However, on the way there we will make some purchases to equip ourselves for what may come. Here we first follow the path that leads us to the metro center, which is our destination at a later point. We first kept to the right and look for Tammy & Sons, one of the shops where we get our starting equipment. And here, too, I can only recommend that you walk through the game world with your eyes open, as there are a lot of signposts and signs, and we don't have a map in the conventional sense. We have found Tammy & Sons in any case, and we'll have a first look at the items and objects that we can bought in-game. To begin with, we equip ourselves with the most necessary survival items, med pens, some ammunition and a multi-tool with the appropriate attachments. Our starting capital, which we have significantly increased through our referral code, is sufficient for this in any case. With the multi-tool, the attachments for mining and the tractor beam, we already have everything we need for the first missions. Alternatively, we can buy all items via the terminal, where we find a wide range of goods. At the beginning, we make to do with some med pens and under weapons and ammunition, some magazines for our standard pistol. In the same category, under attachments, we also find the upgrade for our multi-tool, the tractor beam. Now we've done all our shopping and can head back in the direction of TESA spaceport. On the way, we'll look for the metro center again, where we already walked past at the beginning. The metro center is one of the railway lines that take us to the TESA spaceport or to other places in Laurel-on-Hurston. And one train ride later, we arrive at the TESA spaceport on Hurston, one of the main planets currently accessible in the Stanton system. Via the customs area, where we do not currently have to expect any controls, we then reach the terminals where we can call our ship. By clicking on Retrieve our ship, an RSI Aurora is brought into a hangar where we get an indication on the display, as well as in the game world with the indication of the location of our ship. And to get to the hangar, we again need a lift, and at the latest now you might realize why Star Citizen is also affectionately called the lift simulator. Our ship is ready for takeoff, and all we have to do is get in and take off. In interaction mode, by holding down the F key and clicking, we can access the selection menus and interactions options where we are close enough to the ship. And at this point, another possibility to use the interaction menu. With the F key pressed and a right click, we get this circular menu, where we can activate or deactivate our helmet, among other things. And since we are not here to take a nap in our ship, we sit down in the pilot seat and thus get to the next part of the guide, the control basics of your spaceship. The controls of our spaceship may seem very complex at first, but with a few basic keys and tips you can learn them quickly and easily. To do this, we look around in the interaction mode and get several menus, depending on where we move our mouse. The buttons can also be triggered with shortcuts on the keyboard, but this option is also available in their interaction mode. We can then make our ship ready for flight either by clicking on the menu or by pressing the R key, which starts up all our ship systems and makes us ready to fly. In order to take off, we need the takeoff clearance, especially in a closed hangar, so that the hangar doors also open. To do this, we again have the option of either using the interaction mode and the zoom function to access the menus and select communication, and thus obtain the clearance from the low-level landing service, or alternatively, we can select the communication menu using the F11 key and have then the same option here, so that we can also obtain a takeoff clearance in this way. We do this via the MFD, the multifunction display in the ship. And after a positive confirmation from the low-level landing service, the hangar doors open and we can take off. To do this, we simply press the spacebar button, which causes a straight thrust upwards. As soon as we have left the hangar doors, we take a short break. With the mouse, just like on the ground, we can look around the spaceship. That means the sides and up and down. We can easily do with the mouse. And with the Q and E keys we can roll, that is, turn around our own axis, to the left, or with the E key to the right. And as already at the start, we can give thrust upwards with the spacebar, or in the opposite direction give thrust downwards with the shift key. Our ship is automatically held in position in the default setting, which means that if we don't give any thrust, we simply remain suspended in the air. Depending on the ship, this has different effects. For example, with a very large and heavy ship, we would have to actively give thrust in order to remain in the air. With our starter ship, however, we have no problems in this way and can safely get to know the controls. The filled circle at gear means that our landing gear is still extended and we should retract it. We can retract this landing gear by pressing the N key. As confirmation, we see in the cockpit that the circle is no longer filled. The lines with the numbers tell us at what inclination we are, so we have a degree display to the planet's surface. If we go to a value of 90 here, we have 90-degree angle to the planet. With this display we can navigate and align ourselves accordingly even in poor visibility. On the left side of the HUD, we have the utilization of our engines as well as the speed display in meters per second. The vertical line shows our speed limiter, our set maximum speed. With the adjustable line in the middle, which can be moved up and down with the mouse wheel, we can reduce and limit our maximum speed. The somewhat thicker fixed white bar indicates our recommended maximum speed, which varies from ship to ship. If we now give thrust at an angle of about 45 degrees, we will arrive at a comfortable trajectory from the planet. If we give thrust, we can look at the deflection of our thrusters, which are at 76% instead of 50%, and we have reached a set maximum speed of 140 meters per second. On the right side, we find an altitude display, which is shown in meters. If this reaches a value of about 9000, we have left the atmosphere in most cases. Below this was the display for the fuel levels. And with a small triangle, we can activate an automatic speed control, which works similar to cruise control. This can be activated with the C key, but this is part of a later tutorial. Another type of drive, especially for a long-distance flight, is the quantum drive. With a short press on the B button, all possible jumpable points appear. Here we have to align ourselves accordingly to one of these points, whereby the quantum drive is spooled and a route is calculated. As soon as the quantum drive is charged and calibrated, we can make a jump with a long press on the B button. We'll look for the nearest destination here, which is Everest Harbor. We can also jump to this point using the quantum drive. and make a small jump directly a few 100 km away. Here we can already see the target, and after spooling up and calibrating, we can perform a small quantum jump with a long press on the B button. As soon as we are close enough to the station, we are in an area where weapon fire is forbidden and damage to other players is punished by a crime stat. We can initiate a landing request via the in-game communication, in this case via Everest Harbor or via the F11 key, and here via Everest Harbor. After a landing confirmation, we are assigned a landing pad, which is represented as a small marker on our head-up display. As soon as we move our ship into this marker, we see a circle with the filled in tick, our assigned landing pad, which we must use for our landing. If we land on another landing pad, we have to reckon with a penalty. In order to reach our assigned landing pad, we simply fly a little closer to it. It is often necessary to rotate our ship so that the alignment is correct again, since, unlike on a planet, we have no horizon or atmosphere to push us downwards. Especially in the beginning, it is worth flying close to the landing pad and familiarizing yourself with the controls. Again, with the N key, we can extend our landing gear and approach slowly. And then with the Shift key, with a straight align ship, simply fly down and slowly touch down. A successful landing is then also confirmed accordingly. For safety reasons, the ship can be deactivated again. To do this, you can either use a keyboard shortcut or press simply the power off in the interaction menu. This will shut down all the ship systems and you can leave the ship safely. And with your first safe landing on a space station, you'll have mastered basic ship controls and taken the first important step towards your career in Star Citizen. Congratulations! And since we are in space, a little warning. We see a force field here. You can survive behind this force field without a helmet, but if you forget your helmet and step into the vacuum without a space helmet, you will quickly realize that is not too healthy, so always make sure to wear a helmet before you get into your ship. That brings us to the use of the med pen, which we brought specially. With the key C, we take it in our hands, and with a left click, you initiate it and your health is restored. One of the most important functions in Star Citizen is also your MobiGlas, which you can call up by pressing the F1 key. Here you have the bar in the lower area with several menu options. So let's take a detailed look at the individual functions. Under the menu item Comlink, we have everything that has to do with communication, and under Friends we have already got to know our communication menu for the spaceport or stations. Our vehicle loadout manager, we can convert or equip our ships accordingly. It should be mentioned here that you have to confirm every change by clicking on Save Changes and Equip so that the changes also take effect. And with the equipment manager, we have the same function for our character. Here too, Save Changes and Equip is very useful. This way we can equip our used medpen as well as magazines that we bought in the weapon shop, and then confirm once so that they are also attached to our character. We also have the option of equipping different pieces of equipment such as armor or extended weapons, but I recommend the ground combat guide here in the channel. We equip our multi-tool and the corresponding tractor beam, which completes the basic equipment. Under the menu item Skyline, we enter the navigation mode. Here we can plan routes, take a look at the system, and find all the necessary information for planets and destinations further away. And with the Mode Trader, we can transfer credits to other players as Alpha UEC or the currency merits, and under the Contract Manager, we get access to all missions available to us in the legal as well as illegal area. But we'll get to those missions in detail now in the next sections of this guide by going through some of the different mission types and showing our career options in the verse. You can also use the beacon option to create a mission for other players. To get started in space combat, we will first accept the permanently available mission Halt Illegal Surveillance under General tab in the Contract Manager by pressing the F1 key before we start our career as a bounty hunter in the second part of this section. Using the menu function Track or Untrack, we can display our current mission target in space. Once we have accepted a mission, which you can accept anywhere by the way, and you don't have to be on a station to do so, we leave the spaceport. And again the hint, make sure to wear a helmet before leaving the space station. And since we have familiarized ourselves with the basic controls in the previous section, we can make our ship flight ready with the R key, give it thrust with the spacebar upwards, and retract our landing gear with the N key. In our head-up display, or HUD for short, we are now show our active mission, for which we have to jump to a point in the Stanton system. We can plan the route via our MobiGlas at the Skyline app by zooming out with the mouse wheel and selecting our mission destination, which is highlighted in green, or we can jump from jump point to jump point without planning a route. In map mode, you can also work with double clicks. Twice a short right click and you zoom out to the maximum, and with a double click with the left mouse button you always get one step further to your click destination. In this case, we did not plan the route at first and jumped to the moon aerial without a route. In order to jump to our last destination, however, we set a route, whereby it must be said that the route menu is not really final at the moment, and we regularly have difficulties clicking on the points. And when we reach the last jump point, our mission description also changed as soon as we are close enough to our mission location. In this type of mission we have to find 3 different surveillance satellites and take them out. To do this, we press the Tab key in cockpit mode to enter scanner mode. By holding and releasing the right mouse button, we scan an area and set a scanner ping here. If we still can't find a target, we try a few kilometers further and see scanner hits displayed in the large squares. If we continue to approach these, we see details and can then also locate the individual satellites. And here the scanner system is the same for all ships and vehicles. It doesn't matter if you want to find mineable asteroids or deposits for a mining ship. Scan your friends or enemies. Enemies in front of you can be activated and locked in with the T key for target, whereby they are then permanently selected as a target and are also displayed in your MFD with the data and status. Here we have selected one of the surveillance satellites. Before we start destroying the satellite, however, we switch through the 3 possible fire modes with the G key. Here we switch from fixed forward facing to a free movement radius to gimbal mode, which is shown as a dotted circle and provides us with a targeting computer that automatically targets with the dotted circle for us and marks at readiness with a green target marker. And since the satellites are passive and motionless, we don't have any difficulties here at first, and the destruction is problem-free with any ship. We then continue scanning to locate the 2 missing satellites to complete the mission. And here we can scan captured targets in detail with the left mouse button in activated scanner mode, whereby we receive additional data about the target. The satellites are defenseless and not enemies, but after a few minutes, depending on how quickly we can take out the satellites, we may have to reckon with an escort, which is not worth fighting, especially as a beginner. Therefore, our primary goal is to take out the 3 satellites and avoid the escort, should it arrive after a few minutes and we are still on site. Because for a successful completion of this mission, and the payment of the considerable reward, it is not necessarily to take out the escort as well. That only slows us down, is risky and costs time. So in most cases it is sufficient to focus on taking out the satellites, and you will be on your way home before the escort arrives. Now we come to one of the most exciting career options in Star Citizen, bounty hunting. For this we start with the necessary license, the Tracker Training Permit certification, which we receive from the Bounty Hunter Guild via our contract manager on the Bounty Hunter. Here we have to prove that we are able to survive in space combat and take out bounty targets, whereby we are given a first target to jump at. And don't worry, the difficulty gradually increases here, and your starter ship is sufficient for the first levels. We used an OM buoy as an intermediate target here, as we didn't have a clear view of our target. And as a small repetition, once again with the G key, the 3 possible firing modes, whereby I would strongly recommend beginners to use the gimbal mode first. The targets for our bounty hunt are mostly in asteroid belts, which gives us plenty of cover, but also potential accident sites. So keep your eyes open when flying through space, because every asteroid usually means our certain destruction. For space combat, we reduce our speed to the recommended combat speed, which can be seen at a thick mark on the thrust indicator. This gives us maximum maneuverability, and our weapon systems work within their parameters. We can activate the target in front of us with the T key for target and see some information on the multifunction display. As soon as we land hits, we also see in this display how this affects our opponent. At this point, another hint. Usually there is not only one enemy waiting at the location, but 1 or 2 more targets will come along after a short time, which you can see on our ship's radar in the lower middle area. You can select and activate targets that are not directly in front of you with the 4 key. However, as with the previous mission, these targets are optional and do not need to be eliminated to ensure mission success. You can also be rewarded for such kills via the optional mission A Call to Arms, which can be found in the Mercenary tab of your contract manager. And with our completion of the Bounty Hunter Guild mission and certification as a bounty hunter, we receive additional assessment and evaluation missions from Crusader Security and Hurston Dynamics, both of which are independent factions and for which we can accept contracts. For a bounty hunter, it is worthwhile to accept and complete both missions. For this, we start in the Hurston Dynamics area, where we also have to take out an easy small target first. As the mission progresses, we receive higher certifications, whereby the enemies become higher and stronger, but we also get paid significantly better. Because with each completed mission, for one of the factions or later individuals, we rise in their standing and work your way up the career ladder, unlocking additional bonuses. And as we see here, we don't always have to take out our target ourselves. Often it still happens that the targets fly into asteroids or are destroyed by an accident. However, as long as they are not taken out by another player, even such an accident counts towards our mission completion. Now that we want to work for Crusader Security, we have to take a bigger jump, a bigger route and journey. We have to jump from Hurston to Crusader, and so there are several jump points and a much greater distance ahead of us. And to do this, we go to our Skyline app with the F4 key and select Crusader as our destination. To see Crusader, double-click on the right mouse button or scroll out with the mouse wheel. If we have selected Crusader and press Set Route, we can see how much fuel we need, how much fuel we currently have, and whether our route is feasible without intermediate stops. Otherwise, we have to make small jumps here and refuel. And after a few minutes, we have reached Crusader, where we will first refuel, repair and reload ammunition for our ballistic weapons. With energy weapons, this point would be obsolete. Informations about the possibilities of upgrading our ship can of course also be found in the guides here in the channel. On Port Olisar, the space station around Crusader, we got back to our MobiGlas and request landing clearance. On the landing pad, we can then select all available options in the MobiGlas under the item Vehicle Maintenance, pay for them and have them carried out. Now we are ready for action again and can complete our mission in the Crusader area. And on the subject of bounty hunting, you will also find a very comprehensive guide in the channel, which shows you all the steps and possibilities for achieving maximum success with your career as a bounty hunter. For this fight, we also use missiles against our target by clicking on the middle mouse button to activate our target within our missile range, which is 2000 meters in this case, and holding down the middle mouse button after activating the missile. But you have already guessed it, there is also a detailed guide for space combat in the channel, as there are countless options, possibilities and tips here. It would clearly go beyond the scope of this guide and would be hopelessly overwhelming to cover all the details in a beginner's guide. Another interesting and lucrative career option is ground combat. You can either do this via the bounty hunter career or with so-called appointment missions or general ground missions. We'll start here with the appointment mission in the Hurston Dynamics area, the outsourcing opportunity. You can find this mission directly in the area around Hurston, in our MobiGlas in the Contract Manager, and here our appointments in the Personnel tab. And this mission consists first of all of flying to the planet Hurston, landing there and finding Konstantin Hurston in the Central Business District. This mission also serves as an introduction to Konstantin Hurston, who as an independent person also generates a view for you if you complete missions for him. And since the area of the various factions, persons and the associated reputation functions appears to be very extensive, you can soon expect a comprehensive guide on these individual functions and the possibilities of building up a reputation. For our current mission, we have to go to the Central Business District, which means not to the metro center, but to the Green Line. Directly from the airport, a short train ride later, we reach the Central Business District, where you can also buy weapons for your spaceships, among other things. However, we kept to the left here and get directly to Konstantin Hurston. In this area, which by the way is very advantageous for traders, you can trade goods. However, there is of course also a separate guide for this. The completion of the appointment mission will receive the actual mission, which is quite well paid at 22,000 UEC. For this we have to get a safe from a guarded bunker. Not only does this sound difficult, but especially in the first mission attempts, there are some pitfalls here which we will, however, avoid. Our mission target is also located on Hurston. We should reach an altitude of about 9,000 meters and can thus dial a quantum jump directly to the jump point where our mission target is located. But there's a warning: don't approach the bunker directly and too close, as it has powerful anti-aircraft guns, and otherwise you will meet this fate and have to fly again. My tip is to keep a few meters away and use the terrain as cover. We see here that the anti-aircraft guns have a limited firing range, and we can use cover options such as the Terra itself. After a safe landing, we can leave our ship and run the last few meters on foot. The anti-aircraft guns are only aimed at ships, so you don't have nothing to fear on foot. In the bunkers inside, we use the lift down and equip our pistol with button 1. With an equipped weapon or the multi-tool, you can enter target mode with the right mouse button and lean to the side with the Q and E key. With the left mouse button, we fire our weapons and thus, one by one, take out all the enemies in the bunker, whereby we can select, pick up and also keep their weapons, which give us an additional source of income. If you already have experience with first-person shooters, the shooter passages in Star Citizen are not really challenging at the moment. Only if the server performance is very good, the AI enemies also act relatively cleverly and can surprise you from time to time. But let's take a look at how you can permanently save the weapons you've collected for yourself. You can save the weapons you've picked up under the Equipment Manager and the item unequipped. If you go to save, you'll have this weapon permanently in your inventory and you won't have to buy it separately. This means that we always have the option of collecting either firearms or multi-tools for during the bunker missions that you regularly receive. We place our save in our spaceship. Since we don't have the option of placing it there, we simply pick up a weapon and the save lands in the ship. When we leave the mission area, we take care not to be torn to pieces by the anti-aircraft guns and go into higher orbit. At about 9,000 meters, we have the option of jumping back to Lorville and delivering our safe. As far as transporting crates is concerned, a small tip. You can also increase your speed with the mouse wheel. So, if you are walking very slowly with a crate in your hand, turn the mouse wheel upwards and your character will run at maximum speed. However, there is no sprint function with transporting crates. Konstantin Hurston's missions ends at this delivery station, which supplies you with crates or rather you can drop off crates. These can be found all over the verse and always have the same function. Upon completion, we are 20,000 UEC richer and have also received some weapons as a bonus. We come to the last section of the beginner's guide, which can also be interesting for more advanced players. In this section we look at the peaceful ways to increase our bank balance and increase our incoming possibilities to up to 220,000 UEC per hour considerably. We start with one of the new delivery missions, the Zeta Prolonite Salvage Claim mission for 11,000 UEC. For this we have to go to the crash site on one of the nearby moons. We can't jump directly to this point, however, and have to use a trick to do so. We look for a nearby OM buoy that is close to the target, and during the jump we then simply use the I key by deactivating our ship's systems with it. This shortens our journey time and the flight duration considerably. When we press the I key again, we can simply restart our engines and continue our flight. Our destination will then also be displayed on the spot and we can land directly onto it. My tip here is to land as close as possible to the crash site, otherwise the transport will cost you quite a bit of time, because the Zeta Prolonite is one thing, and it is time sensitive, whereby a timer is started as soon as you take this material out of the transport crates. You can trigger this with a small switch, and as soon as these are taken out of the transport container, a timer starts. The mission has failed if one of the crates cannot be brought to the destination in time. And at this point another tip, use your tractor beam, which we have equipped with the multi-tool. With the mouse wheel you can pull the crate in front of you forwards or backwards, and when it releases the mouse button with the left side, your crate is simply dropped. The crates receive no damage and you can simply throw them through the area. So we optimize the time we need and can load these crates into our ship quite quickly. The time limit is therefore no problem, and you usually have several minutes left as a buffer after delivering them. As soon as we have loaded all the crates, we can start our journey. It should be said that the destination point, where we have to deliver the crates, can be reached and we don't have a long journey here. Pay attention to the timers and set course for Hurston, where we can then simply deliver the crates again. This type of mission exists in several areas, but the time-critical variant, the Zeta Prolonite for 11,000 UEC, is one of the quickest to complete and most lucrative missions in this sector. Other missions often still have bugs. You can't pick up or drop off some crates, and you've spent a lot of time for no pay. So I explicitly recommend this type of mission to you. When dropping off the crates, we again have to deal with one of the familiar automats. If you don't have a tractor beam with you, you can also do the whole thing manually and just carry the crates to the machine. With a click on the drop-off function, your request will be processed and the transport station will open. Make sure to load the time-critical boxes first, in case you run out of time. And so in a few minutes we have earned 11,000 UEC, which in combination with our starting capital, using a referral code, is sufficient for the possibility of earning the most UEC in a short time, and for which you are fully equipped as a beginner. And for this we make use of the rental function in the game, with which we can easily rent ships. However, we don't find them here at the airport in Lorville, but we'll leave Hurston and look for one of the refinery station at one of the Lagrange points. On her L1 we set course for the space station and land here as usual after obtaining landing clearance. Our next destination on this industrial station is the refinery area, where we can later start and carry out our refinery operations with mining ships. And of course, there are extensive mining and refinery guides here in the channel. In the refinery area on the station, we go to the Mining Support Center, where we can buy a Pembroke or Novicore suit, depending on the station, which are protective suits for the environmental conditions on site. The Pembroke protects against heat, for example, and the Novicore against cold. At the rental terminal, we rent a Grey Cat Rock, which is very cheap at 1,800 UEC, and a Drake Cutlass Black for 50,000 UEC, which gives us everything we need for rock mining. With our rented Drake Cutlass Black, which is a good deal bigger than our starter ship, we can then load the rock on one of the moons. And for this, I recommend either the moon Ariel or Aberdeen in the area around Hurston. Here we have a very high density of rock minerals, which can bring us a lot of profits very quickly. With our rented Cutlass, we have a new key, the key, which allows us to move the thrusters to a landing or flying position. To get our rented Grey Cat Rock, we need a terminal for vehicles and small ships, which we can find at almost all major trading stations spread across the moons. A station with the designation HDMS is usually a safe indicator in the Hurston area. At these points, we do not need landing clearance and can use the key to direct our thrusters downwards for a comfortable landing. For orientation on the ground, yellow and orange markings are terminals for trading goods, the points where you can later sell our mined materials, and blue terminals offer the possibility of proving ground vehicles and small ships. We have our Grey Cat Rock delivered to us and get it in through the front door. Using the interaction mode, we can power up the rock and drive. Alternatively, we can press the R button. Afterwards, we'll load the rock into the Drake Cutlass Black via the loading ramp and are ready to go in search of rock minerals. Rock minerals are mainly found on moons like Ariel or Aberdeen. To do this, we simply use the scanner function again, which we already know from previous sections of this guide. By pressing the tab key, we enter the scanner mode, and by holding down the right mouse button, we load our scanner. As soon as we release the button, we send a scanner ping, whereby blue squares are displayed when we get a hit. The smaller one of the squares, the higher the chance that is a rock mineral. Larger rocks are something for mining ships and not for the rock. And there are extensive guides and tutorials on how rock mining work in detail in the channel, of course. Here we have found corresponding material, as we are mainly looking for hedanite, which is currently one of the most valuable materials and of course has to be prioritized. With a left click and a scan, we can get details about the stone. And after a nearby landing, we can unload the rock and proceed to rock mining. To be able to mine stones, we have to enter the mining mode of our rock. To do this, we press the M key. This extends the mining arm and the mining mode is active. And we can start the energy of our mining laser with the left mouse button. We can vary the amount of energy with the mouse wheel. And on the right side, we see a green area where we have to get to. As soon as this area is full, our stone is mined and we can switch to the collect mode with a right click, where we can then finally collect the individual stones. That's the short summary of rock mining. After that, we load our rock again and fly with our collected materials to one of the sales stations, keeping an eye out of the orange marked buildings. At the HDMS station, we can choose at one of the sales terminals which materials we want to sell from our rock and what profit we will receive in return. Here we can see the different building types again, orange for buying and selling, blue for spawning the vehicles. At the terminal we click on sell and on our Cutlass Black we will see the hedanite that has been mined. With 24,000 UEC we have already more than recouped the cost for borrowing the Cutlass and the rock. Another tip, the borrowed Cutlass Black is perfect for bounty hunting. I hope you enjoyed the video and give me a like and maybe even a subscribe. I hope I could make it easier for you to get started with Star Citizen or show you new ideas and possibilities of what you can experience in the verse. But of course there is a lot of depth to play in each area, and I've always referred to the individual and specialized guides. If you have any questions or would like to help out, just drop by our Discord. We are happy about every new citizen. Here I'm curious about your options and comments. Are these points and areas that a beginner should know at the beginning? Was everything understandable? Feel free to write me under the video or check out by the Discord or the Twitch streams. The most important thing at the end, a big thank you to all Patreons, channel members and Twitch subscribers. Without you the whole thing wouldn't be possible in this form, and you are a really strong motivation. Thank you guys for that, you rock! Of course, there are various giveaways, some ships, subscriber flares, regularly millions of alpha UEC in the streams. How to participate? You can simply read in the video description or drop by in the Discord. Of course, we're looking for an English community manager. And if you're looking for a friendly and helpful community, check out our Royal Retirement launch. We welcome every beginner. I say goodbye, until next time. And say as always, see you in the verse.